The following program on PBS 39 is made possible in part by Arts Weekly, celebrating regional expression, performance, and creativity, is brought to you in part by the Edward D. and Ione Auer Foundation, the Ian and Mimi Rowland Foundation, the family of Dr. Christopher and Kirsten LaSalle, and the support of viewers like you. Thank you.
This is Arts Weekly.
Arts Weekly is produced in cooperation with the College of Visual and Performing Arts at IPFW, offering degrees in fine arts, music, theater, and visual communication and design.
Welcome to Arts Weekly. I'm Melinda Haines with the IPFW College of Visual and Performing Arts. On today's show, you'll learn about some of the area's best-kept musical secrets. In the second half of the show, I'll be joined by Marcy Trentacosti, a professional musician and music educator, to talk about the Fort Wayne Philharmonic's Youth Concert Orchestra and the Community Arts Academy's Summer String Camp. But first, I'd like to welcome back Joel Frumkin and Rich Najik from the Huntington Supper Club. In 2007, Joel and Rich moved from Manhattan to Huntington with the aim of revitalizing a former vaudeville house and movie palace. They spent their initial efforts renovating the lobby into an event space before embarking upon further work in the auditorium itself. They aim to open a fully professional musical theater house in the next 2 years, bringing a company of actors for a 7-show season each year. The idea for the Supper Club came about due to overwhelming public interest in the renovation and to begin to bring the building back to life. The shows have proved to be a great success and have entertained more than 15,000 patrons since the first season. The Supper Club is an intimate 72-seat cabaret venue located in downtown Huntington, Indiana, just south of Fort Wayne. Joel and Rich, thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you for having us. It's so nice to see you.
Well, you know, welcome back. I mean, I'm excited to have you back because the last time you were on the show, we talked about your holiday show, and I was privileged to be able to see that. And so I'm wondering if you can give me kind of an update and what you've been up to since then.
Sure. Well, the holiday show finished up in December, and then in the winter months, we don't generally schedule shows. We take those times to do renovation work. So this winter, we worked in the main auditorium of the theater. We're building new walls in there and a new stage and new seating platforms and everything. We finished up all of the wall structure and some backstage structure as well. And just a couple weeks ago, we had our inspection and approval to move forward again to the next step and start drywalling and finishing off the space now. So the framing is all done, and now we're moving on to finish work.
That is really a long process, isn't it?
Yeah, especially when I mean, it's him and like 2 friends that are volunteers, like lifting 32-foot metal studs up into the wall. So it's pretty funny.
Just a few people helping out with it. So when we don't know what we're doing. So.
Yeah. Well, I think the progress you're making is just wonderful. That is so fun to see. And I think one of the other exciting things is that you've opened a restaurant. Right. What is it next
this
door?
Week.
This week.
It's been
last
a week.
week.
It was last Tuesday, so it's been just a week. So it's right next door. It's actually a building that was part of the theater originally when it opened in 1904, and then it split off in the 40s.
Okay.
But now it's back. We own it again. It's all part of the same building again, and it's an Italian restaurant. It's a small 44-seat little bistro, and we themed it after. It's a theater-themed restaurant with Italian food. We really love Italian food, and of course, you know, a lot of people go and have Italian food when they go see shows in New York. There's a lot of great Italian restaurants right around in there.
And there really wasn't one in the county.
No,
there's
there wasn't
great
one
pizza
in the
places,
area.
but there was no sort of pasta, real Italian restaurant in the area, and so we wanted to fill that niche.
And we have a great chef named Jim Hauser, who's from the Fort Wayne Country Club and from Parkview Catering, and he wanted to open a space and came to us and asked about it, and we worked together on it. And It's decorated
far-
like a theater backstage at a theater.
Oh, fun.
We have some theatrical flats and stage lights and pipes and hanging things and that sort of thing to make the space kind of theatrical.
Now, is he also your chef for the supper club?
Yes.
Oh, so this gives him a little chance to branch out because you don't just serve Italian
Oh,
dishes
no.
all the time in the
Yeah.
supper club. So this is
No, there's
a
the
little
full
bit.
regular catering menu as well, and then full show menu for the shows as well.
And what's the name of the restaurant?
It's called The Eatery.
Okay, the eatery, and it just right next door.
In spelling, we thought it was a brilliant idea, which was theater and then eatery and then smushed together.
Yeah.
And then for the next 6 months, we've argued about how to pronounce it. But
Yeah,
so it's
well, when I saw the
eatery.
logo, I'm like, that's very clever.
Yeah, how do
just
you
see
say
the
it?
theater in there. Well, that is.
And of course, in the Midwest, some people say theater, so theatery just sounds
Theatery.
not quite as effective. But whatever.
Well, good
Just
luck
eat
with
there.
that.
It doesn't matter how you say it.
Yeah. So you've got now this restaurant in your space,
Mm-hmm.
so that's a new thing. You're coming along in the auditorium,
Yes.
but you have a big summer season. You know, tell me about what's coming up.
We have 3 summer shows that we do eventually as the summer goes on, they're done in repertory. And we bring in, we audition over 700 people.
Wow.
For 4 parts.
Well over 700 people.
And in New York, we go to New York, we audition them, and then once we've chosen the talent, we then cater the songs in each show specifically to them.
What their strengths are.
Yeah, and this summer we had decided we were going to do the music of Neil Diamond, focus on his songwriting, which is amazing. His writing is very poetic. The lyrics are very personal and introspective. They're like really meaty they're monologues. They really are. We're doing a war show that is very much skewed to the baby boomer. There's a little bit of sort of, Boogie Woogie Bugle Boy, Bette Midler version, but it's a lot of Bob Dylan, Creedence Clearwater, Mamas and the Papas. And that's because the baby boomers, have really become our core audience. And then we're doing an 80s show because people were begging us to do one since we started.
For the
They've
last
said
4 years,
the
people have been
Cougars
saying.
have
Really?
demanded.
Yeah.
The Cougars have demanded an 80s show, so they're finally getting that. So those are the 3 things we're biting off and trying to put together this summer.
So what happens in these shows? Is the first one the Neil Diamond?
Yes.
Yeah, so people come to the show, they don't really maybe know what to expect if they haven't been there before. They walk into your
I think Melinda
theater
should tell
lobby.
us.
Well,
I
mean, I can tell. I'll tell the basics of it, and then we're going to ask you.
Okay.
So each night we have a show. We open the doors at 5:30, and then there's an hour between 5:30 and 6:30 where people can just socialize and have a drink or whatnot. And we have a full bar that people can come and sit with their friends and that. And then at 6:30 we have dinner, and then at 7:30 after dinner the show starts, and it's a full 2-hour show. And it all finishes up around 9:45 to 10 o'clock. Each show has 22 to 24 songs in it, and then the narration that Joel does where he tells stories about the songs and kind of weaves it all together a bit.
Well, and that's what makes it so fascinating, how it's all pulled together. It's not just song after song. And, walking into the lobby, boom, there you are. And there's, 72 doesn't sound like a huge number, but it's the right number for that space.
Yeah.
And everyone sits so close to the stage, so it is such a intimate performance.
Everyone's within 15 feet of the stage.
Wow. That was fascinating to be so close to the, real talent.
And
Just,
for the
singing and
performers,
dancing.
the audience is their scene partner.
Yeah.
It's seeing the whites of their eyes and really relating to them and figuring out as an actor what they want from the audience. But yeah, it's a very unique situation, and the first time that actors get up there and there's an audience, they feel like they're in a 3D movie.
It would be unusual for them, too,
Absolutely.
not just for the audience.
And then they grow to really love it because it's
Right.
such a personal relationship.
Yeah, I think you really do kind of develop that. You can look at them and they sing to you, and then they sing to your person next to you, and you do feel a part of it. You might see those little not scene changes, but little part
set
changes.
list,
Yeah,
yeah.
it's like, oh, now I know how that works. That's so cool. So with the Neil Diamond one that's coming up, how do you narrate through that, or in any of these, how do you determine that?
It's interesting you said that. The Neil Diamond show is the hardest because we wanted to have a sort of a narrative sweep of his life. So that affects how I research each song and try and put the song in a context of a milestone in his life, which luckily, because he writes in a very autobiographical way, is pretty easy to do. But in terms of what the formats have taken on, we sort of, it's funny to be on PBS, because we describe it to people as if Ken Burns was sort of collaborating with American Songbook and then doing it as a cruise ship show.
Yeah.
It's sort of, you get this dramaturgical, historical, fun tidbit information, and then you get the song.
And it makes the song so much more meaningful to have a little bit of history. And, you know, I bet for the 80s show and the war show, you learn a little of the history along with the show, or along with the song that, I mean, I certainly didn't know a lot of that history between those. Those tidbits are interesting.
Right, yeah, and it's really, it takes me a solid month sequestered to do the research, and then about a month to actually assemble the research into the narrative form. It's a big undertaking.
Well, and it's great for trivia buffs too, because we have the free drink questions, free
so
gift
people
card questions.
Get to
people
answer the questions and see
we
if
ask us, see if they, a little Jeopardy for them, and see if
but
they
somebody
might know.
always does. So when are the shows starting?
We start this summer, June 20th, with the Neil
coming up.
Diamond Show. So it's coming up in just a couple of weeks. And then that one runs for several weekends. And then in July, we interweave in the War Show. And at the end of July, we interweave in the 80s Show. And those first 3 weeks in August, all three of them run in rotation then.
Wow.
So,
And are you every night, or?
Until, we're generally weekends until we hit August, and then it's Monday through Saturday.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, everything, the whole schedule is on the website at huntingtonsupperclub.com.
Okay.
And everything's all, each show has a list of the dates that it is, that they're there on that. And it's kind of strange because of the way we rehearse the shows and learn the shows. There are nights that we don't have shows until we learn them all, and all three of them then get put together, and then we run every night.
Wow.
And it's huntingtonsupperclub.com, right?
huntingtonsupperclub.com.
Okay, they can purchase tickets there
Absolutely.
as well. That rehearsal process must be crazy for the actors too. Just
It's a lot,
to-
72 songs to hold in your brain in rotation with basically stools and mic stands as your total world.
Right.
It's tough to keep it all in the database.
Wow. Wow. That is going to be such a fun season. I am sure that everybody is going to enjoy that very much. So again, it is huntingtonsupperclub.com, and people can call too for
They
tickets.
can call too. The phone number, the box office phone number is 260-454-0603.
Okay.
And that's open weekdays from 1 to 4.
Okay, great. Well, thank you guys so
Thank
much
you.
for
It's so
being
nice to
here
see you.
today. While we get ready for our next segment, please take a minute to view our performance calendar of what's coming up in our area. You also can follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. We'll be right back with Marcy Trentacosti from the Fort Wayne Philharmonic Youth Concert Orchestra. The Fort Wayne Philharmonic Youth Concert Orchestra is an intermediate level ensemble for younger musicians who want to explore and gain large ensemble experience. This performance ensemble is geared toward middle school students and early high school age students. Marcy Trentacosti is the director of the Youth Concert Orchestra, as well as the music director of the Community Arts Academy Summer String Camp, which is going into its 18th year. I am so happy to have Marcy on Arts Weekly today to talk about her participation in both the Youth Concert Orchestra and the Summer String Camp, and to share her thoughts on music education in the Fort Wayne area. Welcome.
Hi, Melinda.
I am so glad you can be here because you are just one of the most fascinating people I know. You know, musician, music educator. Maybe Fort Wayne is lucky to have you around. You know, let's start out by talking about the Youth Concert Orchestra itself. Tell me about how that got started, how long it's been around.
Well, the Youth Concert Orchestra is the youngest orchestra that's part of our youth program with the Fort Wayne Philharmonic, and we started it about 3 years ago. The Youth Symphony, however, has been in performance, and that program has been going at least for, I think, 20 some odd years. A long time. It actually started with the All-City Orchestra, and then Fort Wayne Community Schools could not continue funding it, so the Fort Wayne Philharmonic took it over. It was a great way to take over such a good program to keep something like that going. So with our Youth Orchestra Advisory Board, I brought up the fact that, well, I think that this would be a good time to maybe start a second orchestra. We had so many students auditioning for Youth Symphony, and there were a lot of students that were turned away simply because you can only take so many oboes, so many flutes, so many clarinets, and this is a great way to have a feeder program for the Youth Symphony as well. So it really works out for everybody.
Do you think that there are still a lot of music students out there, you know, still taking music in school, but maybe they don't have quite the performance opportunities that they used to?
I think that's it. I think a lot of students probably aren't sure if this is something they can do or if they have the ability to do. And my feeling about that is that you don't know until you try, until you search out and seek. Look on the website for our requirements and try. Even if you think you're not good enough, you should still try.
Well, because that's a big difference between just playing an instrument at home and practicing it, and then being in an ensemble.
Well, that's it. And you know, we really cater towards the more intermediate level. The Youth Symphony students really play much more advanced music. And this gives the opportunity of those young students that are on their journey musically to have somewhere in between to start and then to have a program to look up to.
Because middle-aged students, or middle-aged grade students, they're the ones who can start in Youth Concert Orchestra. So these 6th grade, 7th grade students?
We actually have 4th grade students. We have some very advanced, intermediate level 4th grade students, all the way up to the 9th and 10th grade students. Some 11th, and actually we have 2 flute players in our group this year that were 11th graders. So it's been a joy to work with these kids.
How many of these young musicians are in the Youth Concert Orchestra?
We have around 50 students in our orchestra, and there are about 50 students in the Youth Symphony as well. So total we have about 100 students in the program.
And so is the goal of the concert orchestra to, you know, ultimately move them into the Youth Symphony, or
I think it really is a stepping stone. It will help students build their confidence too. I mean, we have many students that don't have any experience playing in an orchestra. We have a few kids that have been in their school orchestras, but it's, you know, so many different students with many different varying experiences. So we pull in students from Ohio and Warsaw area, and this really gives students a chance to get that experience in a large ensemble.
Well, because this is an orchestra and not a band. I mean, a lot of high schools have, you know, their marching bands that students are interested in. So what instruments are we talking about?
Well, what defines an orchestra basically is the string section is the largest part of the orchestra, and the winds and the brass and the percussion are the smaller part of the orchestra. So we do have a limit how many flutes and oboes and clarinets that we can take, but yet we have we try to have at least 30 violins or more.
That's a big sound.
That's a big sound, and it's really fun for young students when they can be in a large group like that and play together.
And so what are the other benefits that these students get out of being in here?
Yeah, this year we had our very first side-by-side with the Fort Wayne Philharmonic.
Tell me about that.
And that was at the Fame Festival. Students got to sit right next to a Fort Wayne Philharmonic musician and perform right next to them. We started rehearsing that particular piece in the beginning of the year. I usually choose a piece right at the very beginning, and we rehearse it all year so that we're at our very best by the time the Fame Festival comes around and we have to play with the Philharmonic musicians. So yeah, it was very exciting.
Yeah, that's got to be very special for them to, you know, play next to somebody who's, you know,
I think it's inspiring for sure. I mean, it inspires young students and it motivates them to be next to a professional. And we have to all pass the torch to the next generation,
right.
So I think we need to be doing more things like that.
Well, so how often do you rehearse?
We rehearse every Sunday from 4:30 to 6:30.
And then how many concerts do you
And
have?
we do about 4 to 5 concerts a year. We start out with our retreat in August, and then we have a fall concert in November. We play in December at the tree lighting ceremony downtown. And then we have a chamber music program in February. This year we had it at Trinity Episcopal Church. And then we do a spring concert, and we do a concert in May at Follinger Theater.
Wow, that is a very full season.
Yeah,
that gives them a lot of experience. So if someone wants to audition, how do they do that?
Go to the fortwaynephil.org website, click on Education, and then you can choose either the Youth Symphony or the Youth Concert Orchestra, and all the material is on the website. What they need to prepare for the audition, usually they have to play a solo, some scales, and then there is an excerpt they would have to download and learn the excerpt. And the applications are online as well, so all their information that they'll need is online.
And the auditions are coming up soon?
Yeah, we've started our auditions already. We've had some audition dates in May. We have another upcoming audition June 12th, and then we'll have another one in August, and we will even designate an audition time during the fall in case students missed any of the summer audition dates.
And just on average, how much experience do these students have with their instrument?
Well, I think when students get to the sort of a level where they feel pretty confident that they can play a certain amount of scales and feel like their reading ability is fairly good. I think that's a really great time to start thinking about the Youth Concert Orchestra. I have seen so many students grow after 1 year of playing in the Youth Concert Orchestra. It just builds their own confidence level of playing. That's the exciting part of it.
That is exciting. Well, and another thing that you do, we can switch hats and talk about the summer string camp, because you know, let's talk a little bit about that. This is the 18th year for summer string camp. You've been doing it that long. So what is the summer string camp?
Summer string camp is program that I started mainly because we didn't have anything here in the city for students who wanted to stay here in Fort Wayne and have a week to just relax, work on music, enjoy being with other students in the city that are playing, and still learn something and have fun doing it.
Right.
You know.
And do the students are varying experience levels?
Yes.
In summer string camp, some have only 2 years, but some have more. And would these be the types of students then who might move on into the Youth Concert Orchestra?
Yeah, I think so.
It's a good first start for them.
Yeah, and again, we have chamber music for some of the more advanced students that join us for string camp. We put them in chamber groups. We have a little beginner group for students that maybe are not quite up to that level. We have a jazz improv class that Jane Heald teaches, which the students love to explore, trying to play a little bit of improvisation without having to read music. It's a great way to build their confidence level.
And when is the string camp?
String camp is June 24th through the 28th.
So that's coming up. So registration, they need to register pretty soon.
Immediately.
Yeah. And they can do that how?
Online. And
it's ipfw.edu/CAA.
Yes, definitely go on the website and look for Community Arts Academy through the IPFW website, and they'll find all the information right there.
So, and what instruments do you have at summer string camp? Because
This
you don't
year-
have, everything you have at the...
Right. This is strings only.
Right.
This is the string only portion. It would be great to have a whole orchestral camp someday down the road, but strings include violin, viola, cello, string bass.
Okay. And you have a guitar in there?
Last year
Or
we
this
had
year?
guitar.
Okay.
This year I don't think it's going to work out that we're going to have guitar. I don't think we have anyone signed up yet, but you never know.
Do you have mostly violins? Is that...
Yes, mostly violins.
Is it the most popular string instrument?
Well, I think that's the one that everyone likes to start on. When I taught beginning violin over at Woodside, I encouraged many students to start on violin, and then if they wanted to switch over to cello, then they have a little bit of experience with the string instrument. It's easier to do that.
And I love seeing those younger kids with the cellos. It's fabulous to see sometimes the instrument is bigger than they
great.
are.
String instruments, it's so much fun because they come in all sizes, whereas a flute doesn't come in a half size.
Right.
Or a clarinet. You really have to be the right size to play wind and brass and percussion.
And so when kids take part in this day, in this camp, kind of walk me through the day. What do they do and what do they
Our day
get out of
starts
it?
out with our full rehearsal together. We always start out together as a group. And then we have music theory class, we have sight singing class, we have group violin class, group cello class, we have chamber groups, and then jazz improv, and then we end the day back the way we started with our string orchestra.
Okay, and the camp takes place where?
At IPFW Reinhardt Recital Hall in the music building at IPFW, and we start at 9 a.m. and we go till 2 p.m.
It's a very busy and full day.
It is.
Well, thank you, Marcy, so much for coming and being here today and tell us about the Youth Concert Orchestra and the String Camp. That's great opportunities
Thank you
for these
having
kids.
me.
I'm Melinda Haines with the IPFW College of Visual and Performing Arts. Please join me next time on Arts Weekly when we'll chat with Ice and Brooke Taylor about the Hot 1079 Social Music Festival, June 14th, and we'll meet Michael Galbraith of Arch to learn more about this year's historic neighborhood tour taking place June 15th. For up-to-the-minute arts updates, you can find us on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube, and be sure to join us here live Thursday evenings at 7:30 on PBS 39. Thank you for watching.
The preceding program on PBS 39 was made possible in part by Arts Weekly, celebrating regional expression, performance, and creativity, is brought to you in part by the Edward D. and Ione Auer Foundation, the Ian and Mimi Rowland Foundation, the family of Dr. Christopher and Kirsten LaSalle, and the support of viewers like you. Thank you.